Let's talk about something that rarely makes it into leadership books, but actually shapes careers more than we want to admit. There's a kind of workplace behavior that's so quiet, you almost feel silly bringing it up. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's unmistakably corrosive. You walk into the meeting room and the air feels different. No one's hostile, no one's shouting, but the energy, it's trimmed, distanced, and people who were warm last month suddenly keep you at a polite arm's length. Information stops flowing your way. Small conversations happen without you. And over time, you realize, oh, I didn't become less competent. Someone just decided to make me less convenient. Your voice gets a little smaller. Your natural ease gets replaced by a kind of internal stiffness, not because you did anything wrong, but because you're surviving something that's far more subtle. Meanwhile, stories about you take on a life of their own. Half truth there, or strategic omission there, just enough to shape the room before you arrive. But you really don't want to be the person who complains, right? You don't want the scarlet letter of being too sensitive. And honestly, you're not wrong. This really isn't about sensitivity. It's about radar, and it's about noticing patterns long before others do. You see, microbullies don't operate with grand gestures. They don't slam doors. They don't send emails in all caps. They specialize in small fractures. They exclude you from meetings that matter, the kind where decisions get made, not just reviewed. Suddenly, you realize that everyone else received a calendar invite except you. And somehow it's framed as a oops. They chip away at your contributions. Your idea becomes a team thought. Your success becomes lucky timing. Your mistake becomes a fatal character flaw. They twist narratives just enough to seed doubt. It's not a big story, just a tiny adjustment in tone when they talk about you. It's enough that others unconsciously downgrade you without ever examining why. And the reason this works is actually pretty simple. Most people are too busy or too conflict averse to notice the subtle harm. So, the microbully thrives in the shadows of plausibility. Now, let's talk about the peanut gallery, the people who actually see just enough to know something's off, but not enough to feel responsible. Bystanders fall into three categories. One, the it's not serious group. They see tension but assume it's a personality mismatch, not a targeted pattern. Two, the I don't like them anyway group. They wouldn't bully you themselves, but they also don't mind if somebody else does. In their mind, your suffering feels justified, not morally, but emotionally. Three, the risk averse. They know that stepping in might cost political capital, so they stay neutral, and neutrality almost always benefits the aggressor. Silence doesn't just enable microbullying, it gives it a stage. Being the target of subtle undermining is its own psychological marathon because you're trying to stay professional while your instincts are whispering, all right, something's off, pay attention. Here's how you navigate without losing yourself. First, don't react impulsively. Your awareness is not paranoia, it's pattern recognition. You're scanning the room accurately. Second, document quietly. Not to collect receipts, but to see the shape of the behavior over time. Microbullying lives in patterns, not isolated events. Third, calibrate your responses. Jumping at every slight looks extremely reactive. Responding selectively looks strategic. Fourth, protect your composure. There's actually real power in not letting someone distort your center. Consistent competence outlasts somebody else's insecurity. Take Sophia, for example. She's a mid-level analyst, sharp, thoughtful, not loud. Her teammate Adam starts doing something subtle. He wouldn't challenge her directly. He'd simply recast her ideas as extensions of his. Not theft, dilution. In client meetings, he'd preface updates with, "Let me clarify what Sophia meant," even when she hadn't said anything unclear. He replied to emails before she could, framing decisions in ways that made him look proactive and her look like a passive contributor. The rest of the team, they were confused, uncomfortable, and unsure whether to intervene. Sophia didn't explode, she didn't complain, she just observed, and she reframed her presentations to emphasize outcomes only she could articulate. She documented unusual behaviors, and she built quiet alliances with colleagues who saw her work clearly. And when she contributed, she did so with presence, clean structure, sharp clarity, tight delivery. And over months, the dynamic shifted. Adam didn't stop undermining entirely, but his efforts lost credibility. And leadership started noticing her consistency. The lesson here? Sometimes your biggest resistance isn't personal. It's someone else defending the fragile scaffolding of who they think they are. Microbullying is slow, it's quiet, and it works precisely because it hides under the radar of not serious enough. But when you understand the pattern here, who's insecure, who's passive, who's quietly supportive, you stop internalizing the noise. See, your goal is actually not to win a public showdown. Your goal here is endurance, clarity, navigating with restraint and authority, and letting your performance, not someone else's silly insecurity, define your reputation. Because in modern workplaces, one of the most underrated forms of power is simply being psychologically literate. Not dramatic, not reactive, just perceptive and steady.